Some years ago, I was privileged to work on the headquarters staff of the Bishops' Conference in Washington, D.C. I headed up the office of the diaconate for the bishops of the United States. And in that capacity, I often got a lot of very interesting phone calls. One day I got a beautiful phone call from a lady who's just, the lady who transferred the call to me, said she's so excited, so I don't know what it's all about. So the lady got on the phone and I said, "This is Deacon Bill," and she said, "Oh, I am so glad to speak to you." And she said, "You work for the bishops, right?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "Well, I just want someone there to tell the bishops just how special we think our deacons are. We've got the best deacons in the country, and I want our bishops to know that." So, I mean, obviously, that was a pretty exciting conversation. And I said, "Oh, ma'am, thank you so much." And I will certainly pass that along. And so we started talking about other things. And she said, "Oh, Deacon, all the troubles in the church today, won't it be great when all of the troubles in the church are behind us?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, that certainly would be true. And that would be wonderful." And she said, "And then we wouldn't need you." It was a good, humbling moment. She built us up, and then that was it. But you know, I got thinking about that story a little bit, about what we're hearing tonight in our readings. You know, I don't know about you, but I know with me, I struggle sometimes to constantly keep my relationship with God constant in my life. That's a hard thing to do. We tend to go to God only when we need Him, when there's a crisis. "Oh, God, help me." And then once the crisis is over, we put God away until we need Him later. And if there is no crisis, yeah, maybe we don't need Him. And I think that's what our readings are really getting at here tonight. I know none of us are like the descriptions we see both in the first reading and the Gospels. First reading in the Gospels, we're all about the grumbling. I mean, think about this. God, through Moses, has led the people out of slavery. And they're grumbling. "Why did you do that? Now we're out here, we got nothing. Take us back." The people in the gospel. You heard the gospel last weekend. Christ fed them miraculously. And they're not satisfied. What more do they want? It's almost that line, you know, "What have you done for me lately?" But Jesus then makes such an important point for all of us. It wasn't Moses who fed your ancestors. It was God. And it wasn't about the loaves and the fishes yesterday that you should be concerned with. Yes, I met that need. We resolved that crisis. But there is so much more to be concerned with. And that is to be in constant touch with Almighty God. We are here. God is here forever. And that got me thinking about another word that we don't use. We haven't used it in about 6 months. But 6 months ago, we couldn't stop using it. Emmanuel. Emmanuel. Our God is with us. Even when we don't realize it, even when we don't acknowledge His presence, our God is present. Think about this on a very human level. Sometimes when you go and somebody's been sick, or someone's in need, and you're talking with them, and you say, "How are you doing? What can we do to help?" "Oh, don't worry about it, Deacon. Mary's here with me." "Don't worry about it, Father. My son's got this." There's someone that they can count on, who's always there. Don't worry. Someone is there. And that's really what Jesus is saying. Ask for that presence of God. That presence of God is with you always. That is the food. That is the food, is the presence of God. And we celebrate the presences of God in so many ways, and in a most special way in the Eucharist. And so what I want to leave you with tonight is just something that we've talked about before, but I want to stress it again tonight because it is such an important little part of the Mass. When the gifts are being prepared, and before they are presented to Father, you see that that chalice is filled with wine, and one of us will pour just a few drops of water into that cup, into that wine. Now, usually we're singing at that time, so there's nothing that but you can see it. And what does that ritual signify? That water, those few drops of water that we add to the wine, are us. They are us. In all of our humanness, with every crisis, with every joy, with every challenge we are facing, those few drops are us. And they go into that wine. And what's about to happen to that wine? It's about to be consecrated and offered with us, united with Christ, to Almighty God. That's the eternal bread of life. That our God is constantly present to us. Are we aware of it? Do we act as if we believe it? St. Paul was doing some yelling in the second reading. That's why we don't act like Gentiles anymore. Because our God is with us constantly. Are we with him?